Just about that, there's always these little pearls of wisdom that can come to you that you can use, that you never know where it's going to come from and when. And it can be, and just to always keep your radar open for those things. I mean, they can come from a celebrity, like I told you the Bill Murray story, where he came to see us at Groundhog Day, and he came 2 nights and stayed with us for like an hour and a half each night. And when he got to me, he says, "You know, you playing those clarinet solos. Why don't you get with Andy, the guy who played his character from the movie?" He says, "And play it for him." I said, "Well, I don't want to bother him." And he went, "Forget that." Except he didn't say forget. And he said, "Bother him." And he said, "Besides, if a good actor is not going to mind, not only not going to mind, he says he's going to appreciate it. And he can sing his part, you play your part, have a glass of wine, smoke a little something, and have a good time." And he says, "You'll see, you'll play the whole thing different." We didn't get that chance because it closed not too long after, but it did make me think about such shows I've seen that I'm going to play, or when I swing out and go watch the show, it completely changes my approach. So I think out of the box thinking is important. There was another show that I subbed in where the character on stage uh, was a clarinet player, and there's a point where he has a little breakdown, and there's a long extended. He was a klezmer player, and this character was called Carolina Change, and the guy who played this character, David Costabile, this is how you say his name. I've seen him on TV a lot, like in Suits and Billions. And I don't think he'd remember me after 20 years, but he would ask all the subs to come and play for him because his attention to detail was such that, like I played this thing for him, and one point he goes, "Dude, do you ever breathe?" I was like, "Why do you care?" I said to him, he says, "I'm turning red up there." I said, "David, you're not playing." He says, "Yeah, but I'm breathing into the clarinet." And I said, "Oh, that's right, and you don't have the resistance of the reed." He says, "Right, and I'm turning red." I said, "Well, can't you sneak a breath?" He says, "It'll." He says, "I'm always looking. I look down in the pit and actually watch you play." He said, "So I'm actually moving with you." And he says, "It looks like I have my eyes closed, like I'm just into it, but actually I'm watching you." So that way we breathe together, we move together. I'm moving my fingers with you, because if I take a breath, then everybody knows that I'm faking it. He goes, he goes, "They should probably know anyway." He says, "But at least they can wonder this way." And this is a guy, the first row of seats has got to be at least 50 feet away. And of course, up in the balcony, forget it. But his attention to detail was so that it really changed his performance and changed my performance, knowing that we were connecting that way. And I'd even kind of cast an eye up after I'd done it enough times I didn't need to look at the music anymore. And it was so I there was another little pearl of wisdom that came from that's a more direct correlation to a music. But even like in New Orleans, like I met a guy on the street. I just wanted to practice, and I didn't want to stay in my room because I'm in New Orleans, but I wanted to warm up a little bit before the show. And we just started talking, and he was talking about how fear can get in the way of so many things. And he said, you got to learn to just kind of go, fall on your butt and then get up and wipe yourself and then start walking again. And he said, "Don't worry about it," because I said, I don't do too much jamming outside of my show, and that was his advice. And this is a guy who was emptying the trash in the square, and I use that advice to this. So there's always somebody. You never know what you're going to learn from talking to some